and welcome to another episode of The Vision Within. I'm Lori.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Katrina.
Loretta.
And we're so thankful that you are here joining us. This is wonderful for us because we love to share our experiences, but what we found is that when we share them with you, not only does it maybe answer some questions for you, but your feedback really helps us know how to move forward and how to do the show and communicate better. But anyway, so what we wanted to talk about today was we were just chatting about what passion looks like and how we land on it. Because I know I just worked with someone the other day and she spoke to my heart because she said, I know I am here to do more than what I am doing, and I just don't know what my purpose is. And the majority of the people that I work with, they're all trying to find purpose. And even when I work with young kids, they really are trying to connect with something bigger than what they are. And so I was just sharing a story about Elizabeth Gilbert because, we love her. She does Eat, Pray, Love, but she's very real, very transparent, and very much like us. She walks out loud, and I know she just went through a very painful breakup, and it's been out loud and open, and she talks through it, and that's what the purpose of this show was for us. But she said she had done a talk and she was speaking about passion. And she said she thought she had just knocked it out of the ballpark and she was feeling really good, sassy about herself. And she went back to her hotel room. She's like, dude, that was awesome. And then she gets back and she thinks she's going to, check her Facebook page. And this woman posted a comment and she said, hi, Elizabeth. I just wanted you to know I was just attended your event, and I'm sitting in my hotel room in the dark with all the shades drawn, and I have never felt more depressed in my life. And she said, that's awesome that you have your passion and you know how to go after it, but what if you don't even have a clue? Where do you even start? And Elizabeth said, this is what it feels like to have your foundation crumble underneath you. She said, I knew when I was very young that I was going to be a writer, and I went after it. And that really spoke to me because I knew I was going to be a writer too. But what if, that wasn't how you got there? And she said what she did was she went to her closest friends and she looked at them and she noticed that their journeys had a really circuitous path. And so she went to her closest friend and she said, did you know what your passion was when you were a kid? And her friend was like, heck no, Mm-hmm. She said, what I knew was I just kept going after what was moving me at that moment. And so she went from being like a hairdresser to being like a cocaine addict to being really powerful in real estate to crashing and burning. And I thought, wow, that sounds like my life. I'm up, I crash, I'm up, I'm crash. And then, we finally get back to where we wanted to be. But, what if the road less traveled, was what it is, which is, what we're all finding. It really is if we follow our curiosity. Yeah. And you were talking about rituals and things, my gosh, like what trips our trigger and go down every rabbit hole.
Sure. And and I'm going to challenge a little bit there. I feel like there's a little bit of a conventional wisdom right now that is saying that our purpose or our passion has to be one thing.
Right, I agree.
I completely disagree with that. I would love to say that I discovered one thing that I was going to be about my whole life, but I think we evolve. My thought process has shifted, and I think that we evolve. And as we evolve, our passions evolve. And as we open our hearts, and as we learn, our passions move as well. And I think that's a beautiful part about an unfolding of a human and everything that we go through, to your point, on the path. Traditions for me have opened up specifically around some of my ancestry. And on my father's side, I am Celtic. We are Irish. And I love some of the Irish traditions, you know, green beer on St. Patrick's Day. Not real spiritual, but definitely fun.
Yeah.
Leprechauns. There are lots of other Celtic traditions about how they were very connected to the earth. And how they followed the lunar cycles and the way they planted and the way they harvested. And so, you know, like our bonfire equinox, that whole tradition and idea for me was born out of Celtic traditions, and continues to evolve. But it's born out of gratitude. That part I love, right? And the shifting of the seasons and the energy. And I love when we come together as a friendship circle, as a community, to kind of support each other in that. And bringing hearth and home, the warmth of hearth and home, from this bonfire that we create together to each of our homes. So that, in terms of traditions, is really great for me. What about traditions for you?
Traditions, I think that, you know, it's all up to us to kind of make our own as well. I think that we have, you know, the traditions that we've grown up with and it's been passed down in our families. But I also think that it's up to us to create the new traditions. But I kind of want to go back to say something about what we were talking about, like finding our purpose also too.
Sure.
And I think that kind of melds with the whole tradition of things. But I think that we're all born with multiple gifts and multiple talents. But I think that we're also born with an innate seed of something on what really our true purpose is, even if we don't know about it. But how we get there is completely up to us, right? Like, for example, if you want to be an artist and you know you want to be an artist and you want to be creative, well, you could try 20 different things. You could try to be a hairdresser, or you could try to be a painter, or you could even try to be a writer. And I think that sometimes we're too hard on ourselves, thinking that, oh my gosh, you know, it's, you know, we need to know, like, right now, immediately. I think, you know, things sometimes unfold. And honestly, some people don't find their passion until later in life. You know, we're so busy working and seriously, right? We're so busy with life and working, so we don't find ourselves until much later.
That's a good point.
I know I segued off of the tradition
No.
topic.
It's all connected.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all connected to purpose. What about you, Lisa? What are your thoughts around purpose, how it shows up for us? Any tools or traditions that help us find it?
So many thoughts going through my head. Of course, you know, all know that I had a 30-plus long career with lawyering and lobbying and politics, wanting to change the world. I thought was my purpose, and it took me a while to figure out that I can't change the external world. I can only change myself. And with that, as a segue, I realize more and more that I must allow and not try to figure out what my purpose is, and that if I focus on my strengths and focus on what I want to create rather than focus on the miscreations that I've done or the miscreations that society's done, that if I focus on my strengths and focus on what I want to create, things flow better and I have a much better day that day. The next day I have a much better day. Then I look back and the year was better. And all of a sudden I look back and say, gosh, I had no idea I was going to develop that gift and go in that direction. And one of the things that I remember saying to my kids, and we've talked about this in a past episode, is what would you do if you had all the money and time in the world that you needed? What do you really want to do? What do you want to create in your life as something you'd like to contribute? Rather than looking at the limitations, which in a sense are the miscreations, like I don't have enough money or I don't have enough time. And one of the other things I think schools do and the old programming is if you're not good in math, you need to buckle down and get good in math. Well, I told my kids, Caitlin, my daughter, if you're not really feeling it with math, then take one class in college that you absolutely have to take and steer away from the rest. And as a consequence, she majored in journalism. She's a very gifted writer. She focused on her strengths. And she's also a very successful, she got a second degree in fashion design, or not fashion design, interior design in Los Angeles. And she's very, very successful in that. So my son is getting a PhD in neuroscience. So I counseled them after just a long haul of my own experiences. Focus on your strengths don't try to get better at something that is really not your interest or that you're not that gifted at.
Right.
Right.
That's a good point. Because I can tell you for me, being interested in having math and science make sense for me came later. I thank goodness for Mrs. Morgan, my 5th grade teacher, who at St. Robert Catholic Elementary School up in Little Flushing, Michigan. Thank goodness for her patience, because if it wouldn't have been for her, I never would have figured out fractions. And I would not be cooking as much and connecting to Hearth and Home as much as I do right now. But she took that and she saw that when I applied something that I could translate math into real life situations. And so she helped me in that regard. Yeah. And because she thought outside the box, she allowed me to do the same. Yeah. And so I am forever grateful to her for doing that for me. But I think that, some of those passions evolve though quite naturally. Yes. But thankfully, we have people, little angels or inspirations in our life that pop up that remind us of what else is possible. Right. So I agree with that.
I was going to share one story too that, these circles like this, these groups are so critical for us to have, like you were saying, perspective. We get different perspectives. And so I have another little foursome of women that I'm part of too. And as to your point, everything's bubbling up, right? So massive shifts in all of us since the eclipse. And for one of my friends she's done so much for women and helping them find their inner strength and so forth. And her day job, right, that provided her income, she was permanently let go. Oh, wow. Or permanently, what was the layoff? Permanently laid off, right? And so she had a lot of reflection, like what's going on. And one of our friends shared this wonderful story about the trapeze, that, we're always reaching for that next ring or bar, and we're letting go of another. And she said what she had found in this story was that what if each bar was really the illusion and all of the void in between was the reality, which is what we know to be the case, that it's all really the in-between in the journey that's the real part. Right. And what I've just found in my realization and what I shared with my friend too is, what if we could just really embrace where we're at right now, and make it all be okay, that we're exactly where we're supposed to be for a reason, and just have as much fun as we can doing it. And so, like, for example, let's say, what if you just pieced things together, and like, for example, when we were meeting at her house, we had great food delivered to us from Uber Eats. Oh, wow. Okay, and so they delivered food. Wow. And I said, wouldn't it be a blast to drive? Because there's a wonderful, a couple of wonderful orchards, right, and farms here. So Tynan Pond Farms humanely resources animals. They treat animals wonderfully, and they use these Uber things to deliver foods to the community. Okay. So does Tuttle Orchard, grows foods, and they have these programs to get foods to the community. And I thought, what if all we did during the day was piece things together through these in-between times, and who knows who we would meet or what we would discover just having fun.
I like that a lot, because it goes back to something my grandmother told me, which was about, I'll just make it the Reader's Digest version, but it was essentially, when you don't know what to do, do something nice for someone else. Touch lives every day.
I like that.
And so nice. She said, when you're confused or you don't know what to do, then step away from yourself and step into how you can help somebody else.
Right.
I like that. And so, especially at this time of year when we're feeling so close to Hearth and Home, I mean, we can cook and take it to somebody else, or drop it off at a food pantry, or, drop it off at a school where we know they have a breakfast program. There are so many things I have a really good friend that lives up in Chicago, and he is an excellent baker. And he is also practicing in the Jewish faith, Reform Judaism. And he loves to bake. Every time he bakes way too much. It's like he's feeding an army. It's hysterical. He said, he's like, look, it's a gift to my people. We cook for 5,000. Every time we cook, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
But every time he cooks, he takes the extra, packages it up, and he takes it to either a local fire department, a local police station, someplace else. Like, he's even taken to his local Starbucks and dropped some off for them. Because he's like, look, you guys give me coffee every day. The least I can do is...
Yeah.
So he's just thinking and getting outside of himself. And he just noticed the other day, and he is really just in the very beginning stages of awakening in this way. He said, I noticed that whenever I do that, I just feel so much better about moving through my day. So I love what you said about piecing together, because I think we get... glimmers and hints and little whispers from the universe about, hey, what if you...
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like, for instance, we just got a grill. Okay, so Mark is a phenomenal griller, and we got one of these big green eggs. And we got one, I mean, there's two of us. We got an extra large. Okay, this is huge. But we love to cook a lot of food. And we have this little thing where we've got a candle next to our deck. And our neighbors all know that if the candle's lit, you just show up. There's food galore. They usually bring their drinks. Sometimes they'll bring other stuff to share, but they just show up. Sometimes we have one person. Sometimes we have 5. Sometimes it's just us. And we, package it all up. And I had the thought this morning, because Mark's really getting into this, and I said, wow, what if we really just would go gangbusters? He said, you can put 2 20-pound turkeys on this thing. I thought, what if we did that and we sent out a thing to the community? What if we had a community night where, let's say it was a Tuesday night, Monday night, whatever, and that you could sign up in the neighborhood and people could say, hey, we're going to provide the meal tonight. So when you come home, you don't have to sit on our deck and chat with us, but come and pick up your packaged dinner and take it home to your family.
Oh, how nice.
Because then one day a week, that's not money you have to spend to go out and provide for your family, but you've got a meal. And I just started thinking, what if we banded together just in our own friendship circles or neighborhoods, community, whatever, how much less we would need to make in jobs if we all created these sharing days or sharing meals. I think we need to almost go in reverse and say, we really could make a lot less and have so much more if we would just band together.
I agree.
Yeah.
Create what we want rather than focus on what we don't want.
Yeah. And we can piece it together. Like, it just fun. Like, you said you just want to get your hands in more things,
Yeah.
Me too. I mean, oh my gosh, I just want to cook all the time.
So that, to kind of flow back to the beginning with Liz Gilbert's story and the member of the audience that went back to her room and was in a dark room and more depressed than she ever felt. If we ever get to that spot in our life, I can't say I've gotten to a low spot, but nothing like quite that deep. However, we can pull ourselves out of it. It's our choice. Focus on our strengths. Focus on what we want to create, rather than focusing on the limitations, blocks, miscreations in our lives. That's how we pull ourselves out of that dark room.
Right.
Well, and even the gal that I was working with, she said, but I feel like I could do so much more. And I said, I've been there too, and I've done that. I said, but once I thought, what if I could just really have fun when I went into work? What if I could just have a blast? And I ended up getting to know my coworkers and realizing they had really cool stuff going on in their lives. One fosters children, one is an artist, one's a writer, one knits, one crochets, one cooks, and I once I got to know all of them and we started sharing our things, I just had a blast, and I noticed, oddly, every paycheck was more. I have no idea
Oh wow!
how
nice.
that
The
happened.
energy manifestation of the
Yeah.
abundance, you know.
Every paycheck
Once you
is
start
so
looking at abundance in different situations in all ways,
Yeah.
then I think all those avenues of abundance start
Yeah,
opening
it
up.
just happened.
Well, that gets back to consciousness affects reality.
Right.
Yes.
Reality doesn't affect consciousness.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if we want our consciousness to be a high frequency, we'll see that in our reality.
Right.
And everything will come back to us in that way.
Yeah.
Well, we have gone full circle. Speaking of the circuitous path, we have been up, down, around the bend, everywhere. But
Yeah.
some of the really great learnings today, I think, and takeaways are about, just being in the flow and paying attention, about, manifestation, being in the moment, and when your energy is high and you keep yourself in a high place or pull yourself out of challenge, you get this abundance back to you. And it doesn't just impact us as individuals, it impacts our community as well. And so I think those are beautiful messages to have. Well, this has been another episode of The Vision Within, all over the planet and all over the place in terms of topics. But we are your hosts. I'm Katrina.
Loretta.
Lori.
Lisa.
And we invite you to join us on Facebook at The Vision Within. Please make sure you make comments below this video image and let us know what you like and what you think.
Rising Tides Global on
Oh,
Facebook.
we're going to have to edit that too. Yeah. At some point we'll have outtakes. It'll be super fun. Rising Tides Global. So we invite you to join us on Facebook on
Right.
Rising Tides Global
Yes.
and make comments below the video image. And we'd love to hear from you.
And please share. Please share it.
Yes.
Share it with friends. Put it out to your networks and your groups, so that we can get as much feedback as we can. We want to interact with you.
Even if you tell us we're crazy town, we're still
We're all good with that too.
All right. Thank
Thank
you. Have
you.
a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.